Hey YouTubers, my name is Andrea René and I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Nicaragua. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all about my Peace Corps assignment. Many of you already know that I was serving as a Peace Corps TEFL volunteer, which stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. My assignment can be broken down into two specific categories. The first part of my job as a TEFL volunteer was to work with 3 Nicaraguan English teachers. So I was assigned to the city of Esteli, which actually happens to be the 3rd largest city in Nicaragua. So it is a pretty large city, and because of that, there are 3 public high schools. So I actually landed with a different teacher at each high school. So I was doing a lot of commuting during my service, but it ended up working out okay. So with those 3 Nicaraguan teachers, I was required to teach a total of 15 hours a week. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in addition to that, we also co-planned all of our lessons together, and then you have to take into account the fact that I was commuting in the 3rd largest city in Nicaragua. So I spent a lot of time commuting. One of my public high schools was actually 30 minutes away from my house, and I went there 3 times a week. So I ended up commuting 3 hours a week just to teach at that one school. And I had 2 other schools besides that. So as it happens, the 3 Nicaraguan English teachers that I was assigned to work with all taught 8th grade, which was really awesome because that meant that we could all lesson plan together. Another part of my job as a TEFL volunteer in the city of Esteli was to also attend monthly teacher meetings, and it always happens on the last Friday of every month, and it's called EPI, formerly known as TEPSE, if I have any RPCBs on here from Nicaragua who are watching this video. So it is now called EPI, and they meet once a month on the last Friday of the month. What's great about that is it's only, well, okay, like obviously the teachers still complain about it, but it's only for the morning essentially. You need to be there at 8 o'clock and it goes until 1 p.m. and Peace Corps volunteers are required to attend their local EPI as well, no matter which city or community they are working in. Because we would get out of EPI at 1 p.m. and the 3 Nicaraguan teachers that I was working with all attended the same EPI that I did, we would just go straight over to my house after. I'd borrow a few extra chairs from my host mom, and we'd gather around my computer and take out all of the curriculum books, and we would go ahead and co-plan for the entire month. Now, this is obviously a unique situation. Most of my fellow volunteers had a lot of different grade levels that they were teaching. Each teacher was teaching a different grade level. Sometimes teachers were teaching multiple grade levels. Because Esteli is such an enormous city, most English teachers in Esteli only teach 1 grade level, but in the smaller communities, you even had sometimes only 1 teacher at a school for English, and they would teach all grade levels, so 7th through 11th grade, which is secondary school in Nicaragua. But again, in my case, because I was only teaching 8th grade, and luck of the draw had it that all 3 of the teachers I was working with taught 8th grade, we would all lesson plan together. The first school year, we were starting completely from scratch as far as lesson plans go. The curriculum already exists. It's mandated by the Ministry of Education in Nicaragua, but we had to create our own lessons. So we typed up all of our lessons the first year, and then the second year, we just revised those lesson plans. That essentially was the first part of my Peace Corps assignment, was to work and support with these 3 Nicaraguan English teachers at the 3 different public high schools in the city of Esteli. Beyond that, also still working with the Ministry of Education, the city of Esteli had a municipal English specialist, and because I was in the capital of the department, there was a departmental English specialist as well. So I worked with them off and on, supporting them however I could. Whatever ideas they had that had to do with English, I kind of saw my role as being helping them achieve their goals. So a lot of times, especially the municipal English specialist, she had all of these amazing ideas, but she just needed someone to like help her make them happen. So during my time as a volunteer, we did English Olympics, which was a ton of fun. We also did something called a conversational English encounter, and that was specifically with upperclassmen, 10th and 11th graders. We invited the different English department chairs from the different universities in the city of Esteli to come and talk to the upperclassmen about continuing to study English into college. There's also a long tradition of what is called the English Festival in Nicaragua, and that is a singing competition. And I know that this happens in other Peace Corps countries as well. So we have it in Peace Corps Nicaragua, and of course volunteers, doesn't matter your sector, you will be asked to be a judge at the English singing competition. So I supported that at both the municipal and departmental levels in Esteli. So that pretty much is all of the work that I did with the Ministry of Education. And outside of the Ministry of Education, a big part of my Peace Corps assignment was to coordinate a program called STEP, which stands for Striving Towards English Proficiency. And this was in partnership with the Ministry of Education, because they did provide us with the buildings, and we were working specifically with their English teachers, and with a local NGO called Fundación Uno. This program had already existed before I arrived in country, and it had already been going in Esteli as well. But essentially what Striving Towards English Proficiency is a program for high school English teachers in Nicaragua to develop their English language proficiency. This class STEP was taught by Peace Corps volunteers. I would be there every single weekend because I was the coordinator and I lived in Esteli. It would kind of be on a rotational system. My fellow TEFL volunteers would come in from different parts of the country, usually the day before, because it was quite a commute, obviously, to come from different parts of the country. But they would come and be prepared to teach STEP the following day. They would lesson plan, I would send them feedback on their lesson plans, and then they would be ready to teach the next day. So you might be thinking, okay, you're working on Saturdays. Does that mean you only have Sunday off? No. So when you're a Peace Corps volunteer, you do have definitely a lot more authority over your schedule than you do here in the United States. So what I decided to do, just because I had to hand wash all my laundry, do all my own grocery shopping, which is a much bigger task in Nicaragua than it is here in the United States. I just had like a lot of things I had to do every weekend, clean my apartment. And so I decided that my weekends would be Sunday and Monday. So I never worked on Mondays, but that ended up being okay because actually in Nicaragua, they always have assemblies on Mondays. So students actually miss a lot of class time on Mondays. So that ended up being totally fine. So Tuesday through Friday, I was in the public schools, and then Saturdays I was at STEP coordinating that program. But yeah, that is essentially what my Peace Corps assignment was. Obviously, I was very, very busy during Peace Corps. I had more than enough things to do to fill up my schedule. I had to actually, decline a few things as well, make decisions early in my service as to what I would be doing when I was a volunteer and what I would just have to let fall by the wayside. So, for example, I decided I would never be a counselor in any of the Peace Corps summer camps. That's like a really popular aspect of Peace Corps. It sounded lovely. It would be wonderful to be able to do those camps, but with my packed schedule, I just decided very early on that I was not going to do any of the summer camps. I know that different volunteers have different services, and even within the country of Nicaragua, I had friends who felt that they didn't have enough to do when they were a Peace Corps volunteer. However, I will say that everyone who was in the TEFL sector, we all felt very busy and we had more than enough to do. If any of you have any questions or you would like me to clarify any points about what I was doing when I was a Peace Corps volunteer, I would be more than happy to do that. Yeah, so that's my site assignment. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe below.